This video is sponsored by Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. Click on the link in the description and use the code PackerMan to save 10% on any order. Hey, what's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to this edition of The Fuel. Where in this edition, we are going to be talking about the 2023 Worldwide Express 250 at the Richmond Raceway for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Where we actually saw a very surprising race. And I say that because, based on what we've seen so far this year from the Truck Series, I wasn't expecting much coming into this race, even though this is supposed to be the regular season finale for the trucks. And early on, this race was fucking boring. Majeski was completely dominating, like literally nothing was going on. Stage 1 was a complete wash, I'll put it to you that way. It didn't really get that much better in Stage 2. It's actually where we had 2 caution flags. One for Dean Thompson spinning in turn 2, and one for Justin Carroll spinning in turn 3. And these 2 cautions happened within 8 laps of each other. Surprisingly enough, though, these were the only 2 cautions of the entire race. Seriously. And both of these happened in Stage 2, which means that we actually had a green flag run of over 100 laps to end this race. Now, there were only 9 lead changes in total, although the Road America race had just 2, and 2 pure lead changes, but only 2 caution flags. Majeski dominated most of the race, about 168 laps. Most of that was in the first half of the race. But we did get some good racing for the lead a little bit after the second caution, because Rhodes got to the lead on the restart. And you had Corey Heim and Majeski right there. So it was for a bit, it was a 3-car battle. But once Majeski got back out in front, he basically pulled away and won Stage 2 handily. So it was pretty clear that in terms of how the truck was handling, he definitely had the fastest truck of the entire day. But then we get to Stage 3, and this is when the entire race gets turned on its head. And this is when it started to heat up, and it heated up in a big way. Majeski came off pit road first, so it's kind of like, oh, well, he's probably just going to dominate the rest of the race. It's penalized for too fast entering. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to wait and see how this turns out, because he's going to have to start at the rear of the field and behind all the lap down cars too. Majeski, he put together one of the best comeback drives I think I've seen all year. In fact, I want to give a huge shout out to 3 drivers. Majeski, who had to overcome this speeding penalty, got all the way to the front without the benefit of a caution flag at Richmond. Carson Hocevar, he had to make some adjustments. I think he had to change a tire before the start of the race. Had to go to the rear of the field. Made his way to the front in this one. Zane Smith went a lap down early in this race because the truck was not handling great. They made adjustments on it. Got the truck handling much, much better. Made up his lap. And he was at the front at the end of this race. All 3 of these guys finished in the top 3 at the end of this race. All of them had to be basically in the back at one point or another during this race. And all 3 of these guys made up the time and were at the front contending for this race win. I mean, if that's not indicative of the talent that these three drivers possess, I don't know what does. I don't know what does. To overcome the adversity that all three of these guys had to face in this race, and to come back and be contenders for this race to win. Especially Ty Majeski, who it looked like it was over for him, and he bull rushed his way through this field and was actually within a second and a half of Hocevar to retaking the race lead midway through stage 3. And that was when Phil Gould, the crew chief for Carson Hocevar, they decided to do a switcheroo. Initially, they were going to try to go the entire distance on the tires, and you also had other drivers that were trying to do put a stop in the middle, stop at 50 laps and have fresh tires. So now we had differing strategies going on. In addition to guys bull rushing their way to the front, like Ty Majeski, trying to overcome a penalty, now you had guys on split strategies. So now there was a strategy element to this race. And I'm thinking to myself, I really hope this race goes green, because I want to see how this plays out. And oh my God, we got our wish. So Majeski, he's about to take the lead from Carson Hocevar. And at this point, Fox Sports can go fuck themselves, because Majeski was literally a second and a half behind Hocevar, looking like he's getting ready to take the lead. And instead of going to a side-by-side like you would expect to see, they go to a full-screen commercial. Like, how fucking stupid can you be? Fox Sports sucks dick. I mean, they're fortunate that Hocevar decided to make the pit stop from the lead under green. Otherwise, they would have looked incredibly stupid had Majeski caught Hocevar and passed him on the track while it was under a commercial. All that build up just for the pass to happen under a full screen commercial. Fucking stupid. But Majeski assumes the lead. Hocevar pit with 40 laps to go. According to timing and scoring, when he came out of the pits on the fresh tires, he was 36 seconds behind Ty Majeski with 40 laps to go. That's more than a lap. And he made that distance up. Tires were worth about a second and a third to a second and a half. And he made that time up. Ben Rhodes, who was a contender early on, has his race ruined by a commitment line violation. There's a orange box that you have to have all 4 tires on the inside of, and his right sides hit that orange box. That's a commitment line violation, and that was a pass-through penalty. So Zane Smith, he's actually ahead of Hocevar at this point, because he actually pit 10 laps earlier than Hocevar, so he had the fresher tires for longer. However, he was so far behind Hocevar when he did make the pit stop that when Hocevar made his pit stop, he was not that far behind Smith with 10 lap fresher tires. So he was able to get by. Now it's like, this race has really heated up now, because now it's like, okay, if this race goes green, can Majeski hold these guys back who have the fresher tires? And Hocevar was just carving into that lead. He was 2 seconds back with 7 to go, and then finally, coming around to 4 laps to go, he makes the move for the lead on Majeski. Majeski tried his damnedest, but, I mean, there's just no way to defend against someone who has fresher tires like that, especially with the fall off that these tires had. So, I mean, there wasn't really much Majeski could do. And Carson Hocevar makes it past with 3 laps to go and gets the victory, completing the comeback drive to get his 3rd win of his career, end of the season at Richmond. And then promptly dropped an F-bomb in his post-race interview. But, I mean, he was just excited. But Hocevar has started to prove that, yeah, maybe he is a good driver after all. If he cleans up, I said before, if he cleaned up his act, Hocevar, he's going to be a Cup star before too long. And look at what he's doing in trucks right now. 3rd win of the year. He's well and truly in the championship hunt. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Heartbreak for Majeski, who led the most laps in this race, engineered the comeback drive of the year. And because of brilliant pit strategy by Phil Gould for the 42 team, ends up just short of victory. And make no mistake about it, Majeski, he had the dominant car, or the dominant truck in this race. Like, he was head and shoulders above everybody else. It took pit strategy and a differing strategy for Hocevar to pull the win out. And only just. I mean, he was there. I mean, there was only like 3 laps to go. I mean, so he was cutting it close, to say the least. But for once, we get a long green flag run to end this race with interesting pit strategy and a payoff at the end with, Hocevar running down Majeski from that far back to win this race. I mean, that's all I really ask for is interesting racing and entertaining racing. And even though stage 1 sucked balls, and stage 2 was kind of... stage 3 was when this race really came to life. It really did. I mean, it looked like a below average season finale, and it's like, man, they hyped this race up for nothing. And then it delivered in the second half of this race with the great pit strategy, guys coming from the back to the front. I mean, what else can I say? This was a damn good race. I mean, it's not going to be, an all-timer, but for what it is, I thought it was a good race, and that's really all I ask for. So, my final rating for the 2023 Worldwide Express 250 at Richmond is a 7 out of 10. What's happening, ladies and germs? Thank you for watching tonight's video. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description box below. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe if you want to continue watching great content like you saw today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out.